Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had an amazing weekend. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for being here. Quick things before we jump into the podcast. Thank you guys so much for those of you who have left a Google review. I'm going to still ask that if you come here and you consume the content and you have learned anything at all, or it's helped you in some way, if you could go to the show notes where there will be a little link that will take you to my Google page that I'm working really hard on trying to build up and get more reviews on. And you can leave a review, and I would just super appreciate it ahead of time. I thank you. If I could thank you in person, I totally would, but I will go and read your review and then thank you on Google as well, because I really do appreciate it. It helps. Every little bit helps. The second thing is I am going to be, there's a lot going on in our life right now, and I'll just make this short and sweet. You know that we're trying to find a new place to live and move out of our current apartment because I can't even. And I could use all the good juju, vibes, the prayers, all of the things. We checked out this home that there have been a lot of applications on, and we don't know what's going to happen with it, but in a perfect world, they would call me at any point and let me know that they've chosen us over everybody else. So I hope that I get to come back on the podcast and let you know that it's worked out. And I think the hardest thing is staying in the belief that it's possible. And we kind of talked about that last episode. And I realize in going through this right now, like with something that I really want, that there could be a second episode on that, but that's not actually what we're going to talk about today. So today I'm just going to ask you to keep us in mind and send all of the good vibes our way, that we find a place we love, because we have to be out of here in like less than 20 something days and we have not secured a place because the market is so crazy, even for rentals. So oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to just having my own oasis and getting the HE double hockey sticks out of this place. So keep your fingers crossed for us. So today we're going to talk about the locker of feelings. This is basically an analogy that I give a lot of my clients, or that I have talked about in past programs, but I've never talked about it really on the podcast as its own entity. And it's something I totally made up because of the way that I visualize. I'm a very visual learner, and I am very imaginary. I am really good at dreaming. And so whenever I'm learning concepts that maybe feel a little bit challenging, it helps me to visualize what's actually going on. So whether my clients like it or not, they get a lot of random analogies or visualizations that maybe they didn't even ask for, because it helps me to kind of process or think about what I'm saying and how to help them hold on to it in the back of their mind, so that when they're actually doing the work, it sticks and they have an example of why it looks the way that it does or why it feels the way that it does. So the locker of feelings is something that I came up with years ago when I was very fresh into being coached myself by my coach, and it felt like there were tons of things that I had to sort through. So we're going to talk about that today. What is the locker of feelings? What does that mean whenever I say that in my work? So basically, whenever you reach out to me and you decide I'm ready for coaching, whether it's, my group program or one-on-one, what I know is what lies ahead. And what lies ahead is a lot of uncovering, a lot of digging, and not even just digging into the past a little bit, but like digging into your current reality, your current results, in order to get to the future self, what you want in the future, how you want to be in the future. So people come to me because I am really, really good at doing the emotional work, the emotional intelligence work that helps people step into their highest self. So when someone is ready to work with me, what they're saying is, in my current reality, in my current situation, I have enough awareness to know that I want more, or that I can have more, or that I can be more, and not from a place of I'm insufficient as I am. Not from that place, right? We don't want anybody believing that they're insufficient where they are right now. But when clients come to me, a lot of times the place that they're in is I'm not living up to my fullest potential, and I can feel that in my spirit, but I don't know how to get to the next step. Or I'm dealing with a lot, I have a ton on my plate, and I don't know what to do with it all in order to feel better. So, highest self work isn't just about the big dream, like if you want, a bigger house or a nicer car or all of those things. Sure, those can be included in your highest self vision of how you see yourself in your life in the future. It absolutely can be included. But the deeper work of becoming your highest self is realizing and becoming aware of why you're even holding yourself back to begin with, why you're swimming in emotions that aren't serving you, why you're blaming other people for where you currently are, why you don't have boundaries, why people walk all over you, why you're people pleasing, why you're not showing up in your life the way that you know that you could in order to improve your relationships, improve work-life balance, improve your parenting, improve whatever it is that you want to improve, your relationship with finances or money or time, all of those things. And when we're doing this work together, it's really about me helping you see all of your blind spots that are keeping you from the very things that you want. And a lot of times, what's keeping you from the things that you want are emotions you're unwilling to feel. You're not willing to feel them fully. You don't want to feel disappointed, frustrated, angry, sad. You don't want to feel what you perceive as failure. You don't want to feel as if you have failed at something. You don't want to feel all the negative emotions in your body. And a big part of emotional intelligence is emotional awareness around what you're carrying around on a daily basis that you're not even looking at. Because we're all carrying around things, right? Situations happen in our life. We're faced with different things that occur in our life, circumstances, and then we react. And we either react in this very big expressive way, or we react internally. And what I can tell you from working with a ton of clients and coaching in another coaching group where I've coached now, hundreds of people on their mind drama and their emotions, is that most people are holding it internally, and they think that they're doing a good job, but internally they're kind of drowning. They're like, I can't figure out why I don't feel better. I want to feel better and I can't figure it out. Okay, so I use the locker of feelings to kind of describe what's going on, and I'm going to show you here what that kind of looks like. So I want you to kind of imagine and go into your visualization mode of what this would look like. So the way that I picture this is whenever you walk into a school and they have all like rows of lockers, okay? And you get your own individual locker. You've got your lock on it, you've got your combination and whatnot. And when you walk up to this locker and you undo the combination and you open it up, there is a plethora of mail. Like there's a plethora of mail inside. So think of like the mail that you get each and every day from USPS or whatever. Just think of stacks and stacks of mail being inside of your locker, all the way to the very top. Like you've shoved it all in. And each piece of mail is something that you are dealing with, an emotion you're dealing with, a thought that you're dealing with, something that's happened in your past, traumatic events, circumstances. All of those individual thoughts, feelings, circumstances, and experiences are an individual piece of mail. Now, it's very painful to grab even one of those pieces of mail a lot of times, open it up, and feel it again or address it again. So, what we tend to do is whenever we experience a very challenging emotion or challenging situation, we take that piece of mail, like we feel it briefly, we look at it briefly, we don't necessarily open up the envelope, but we grab onto the envelope and we think, oh my gosh, I hate this one. It's like if the outside of it said failure, and you pick up this letter or this piece of mail and it says failure, and you're like, oh God, no, I'm not going to open this. Like, why would I want to feel failure? And so what you do is you just shove it into the locker. Okay, and then you close the locker door and you walk away. And then the next thing in your life happens. Maybe it's something traumatic that your body registers as traumatic. Trauma is different for every single person. So sometimes it's this very big event, right, that is life altering, but sometimes it's little things that can feel life altering to our body. So imagine, that this piece of mail says maybe like the death of a loved one. And that feels very traumatic. And you don't feel like you have time to grieve it. You don't want to look at it. You don't really want to explore it. You've got other things to do, like manage your family, and you still have to show up at work. You still have to perform, right, in whatever it is that you're doing. And so instead of looking at the piece of mail of grief or dealing with the death of a loved one, you're like, oh, no, 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 no. And so you push it in the locker. So you felt it briefly, like enough to acknowledge that, this is a really hard piece in my life, but you didn't actually open it up. You didn't actually look at it or explore those feelings deeper. So you've shoved it in the locker. And then, days go by, weeks go by, months go by, and let's say you're in a breakup, or you have a fight with your significant other, or you lose your job, or you have this moment where you realize you're miserable at your job. You actually hate your job, and yet you feel stuck there. All of the things that I'm saying are individual experiences, and individual experiences can happen on a moment-to-moment basis. And whenever we decide, no, I don't want to feel that emotion, like it's really making me feel anxious, or it's really making me feel kind of depressed, or it's making me feel upset or frustrated with myself that my life isn't feeling the way that I want it to feel. I want to feel happy. I want to feel fulfilled. And I don't feel any of those things right now. And so you take that piece of mail with whatever it is that you're dealing with, and you shove it in the locker, and you're like, I'll deal with it later. I've got other things to do. I've got lunches to make for my kids, and I've got, work that I need to get done, and I've got to clean the house, and I want to scroll social media, and I've got a bottle of wine to drink. And so what we usually do is we shove all of the things that are navigators for helping us realize what's working and what's not. Okay, what we need to be feeling and what we maybe don't need to be holding on to. Instead of exploring those things, we shove it into the locker. We close the locker door, we put the combination lock on it, and we don't look at it. And yet life goes on, and it still compiles. And here you are in the little slits that are in the locker. I just imagine people like taking a piece of mail and shoving it through the slit, not even opening the locker to shove it all in, but like literally just putting it in the slit and putting it in the slit and putting it in the slit. And what happens eventually is you reach a point in your life where you realize you're trying to push more of your mail into the locker, but it's full. You've shoved so much in there for so long, it's full. There's no way you can even put any more in the locker unless you open the locker and clean it out. And it's at that moment where I truly in my brain believe that people go from listening to the podcast to going to MacyRenee.com, clicking the schedule a consult button and getting on the phone, right? Whether or not they actually go through with coaching or not, it's like the one circumstance that it's like, okay, I just tried to shove this last piece of mail into my locker and it wouldn't fit. So now I need your help in figuring out, do I want to open this locker or do I just want to keep trying to shovel it in there? Like, what are my options here? And so that's what plays out in my brain whenever I get on the consult with someone. I'm like, okay, they're tired of their locker being full and they're wanting to kind of explore what might be in their locker. And if I'm the person that's going to be like, what do they call it? Like Marie Kondo, or what is that? The home edit. Do any of you all watch that where they come in and they completely transform the space? Like they take everybody's unorganization and then they like organize the room. I don't know. People are obsessed, I feel like, with that show, and I just recently started watching it, but that's essentially what people get to. They're like, okay, you're the Marie Kondo or you're the home edit. Let me see if this is something I actually want to go through with, if I want to go through all of my things and get rid of some of it, or if I'm going to kind of hoard it and not look at it, because I know that it's not going to be fun to go through all of this stuff that I've been holding on to from childhood. Most of the time it starts in childhood, right? Whatever it is. So that's what I imagine in my mind are people that get on the call and they're like, okay, my locker's full. Let me figure out what's next. So then what we do is we discuss like what things might be in your locker. Okay, what kind of things are you holding on to? What kind of painful experiences, replay in your mind when you're asked certain questions? And is your initial instinct to run away from it and cope in another way? Or is it to actually face those emotions, those thoughts, in order to clear them out so you can step into your highest self? Like, which one do you do? And listening to this episode, you may even know right away what you do. So the episode about buffering is to help, you get clear on, do you take your additional time to distract yourself from your life and your present day emotions and the emotions that maybe bubble up when you sit still, when you're, being still. It's really important to recognize, are you using something to cope so that you don't have to feel what's actually going on in your body? And that can be, means of I'm drinking a glass of wine or three. I am, binging a lot of TV. I am overeating. I'm not even hungry, and here I am in the snack cabinet, and now, I'm in the fridge, and now I'm eating something else, and it's to feel better. It's not because my body is signaling, hey, we're hungry, eat. It's because my body is signaling, hey, we're stressed and there's stuff we should probably look at. But I don't want to do that because I don't want to become a crying, blubbering mess, or I'm afraid that it might take me into kind of a depressive state or an anxious state. And so what I could do to immediately feel better right now is eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream and get on Netflix and watch an entire series for 8 hours, and I know some people are probably like, 8 hours? I don't even have 8 hours. But it's so funny because some people will literally, even if you have tons of kids and a ton of things that you're managing, and you have, a spouse you're taking care of and a household you're taking care of and you're working, I know I have had clients and I know friends who will stay up all night to binge whatever they want to watch on TV rather than, deal with what's actually going on in their life because that feels easier. And it's amazing because they will still have stories around like, I don't even have a lot of time, or I don't have time to get things done. But if you look at their pockets of buffering, they absolutely have time, but they're filling up their time with coping mechanisms to distract them from the work that would actually help them feel better. So what they're choosing is temporary pleasure in exchange for, like instead of dealing with what could create long-term pleasure for them. So the long-term is opening up the locker, dealing with everything that you've got going on, for long-term satisfaction, long-term pleasure, long-term happiness, long-term skills that actually serve you. But it's very hard to choose that because in the moment when we're uncomfortable, we want immediate gratification. And immediate gratification is whatever's going to numb you or take you away from that uncomfortable situation that you're dealing with. So the locker of feelings is what we open up whenever you move forward with coaching. And first of all, what I do at this point in my business is start with an emotional intelligence test, or assessment, which gives us a really clear breakdown of where you show up well emotionally in your life and where you're maybe retracting, right? Running away from emotional experiences in your life. And it gives a very clear breakdown of kind of who you're being at this stage in your life, which I think is a very valuable snapshot to have of like, okay, when it comes to impulse control and reacting, I don't do very well. But when it comes to empathy and being able to empathize with other people and have empathy for myself, I do really well. And so you kind of get to see where you're showing up with really good skills and where your skills could improve and grow. And then from there, we go into, okay, what's in your locker? Let's just explore it one by one. We're not, let's slowly open the door and pull out some pieces that you're comfortable starting with and exploring those, and then we can go into the other stuff, because each piece of mail reveals something that your body is holding. Yes, you haven't been looking at it. Yes, your locker has been locked for years, and so it feels like it's no big deal. But you're like, if the locker were to represent your body, you're still holding it all. Even if you're not looking at it, you're holding it all. And that becomes very taxing on the body. And that's why I say, that's why I think in my brain, I imagine that people's lockers, are filled to the brim, and they go to fill up, they try to fill it up more, and they realize like, holy shit, this stupid piece of mail is not fitting. Like, how can this thing be full? There's no way this thing can be full. And they keep trying and trying and trying, and then it's like, oh, cuss word. Let me go schedule a consult and figure out if I actually want to clean this out or not. And, that's how I imagined it whenever my coach would be coaching me. I would always feel like I gotta open my locker again. Like, I would either compare it to her peeling an onion and it feeling like the layers of the onion were never ending. Or I would compare it to this locker situation, like imagining that my body, my whole entire being was this locker. And I had the opportunity to open it up and explore it and figure out why it was there and if I even wanted to hoard it. That's the thing. Like, do I even want to hoard this piece of mail that's in my body? And the piece of mail might say anger towards a specific someone. Or it could be, lack of forgiveness for the situation that happened. And it's like, do I want to carry that in my body? Like, do I want that situation to impact my future? Because it does. That's the thing. Like, we think that it doesn't, but it does. It impacts who you're being right now. It impacts the emotions you're feeling, the actions you're taking, and the results that you're ultimately going to create in your life. And so you have to get really clear of like, do I want this? And, it could be very minor things like, I hate my job. That's pretty minor on the greater scheme of all the things that can happen in life. But it's still a big deal to your body. If you're hating your job every single day, it means that every single day that you walk into your job, you're having an emotional experience. It's just a matter of, are you addressing it or not? And if you're not addressing it, every time you feel that emotion, you're putting a piece of that mail of like, I hate my job today, into the locker. And that eventually compiles and becomes very, very heavy. Like, your locker can't hold it all. So you get to decide, like, what is keeping me from going to a job that I love? And that's where we get really, really clear in coaching, because it's like, okay, you clearly have a reaction to this thing. Why are you having a reaction to this thing? And if it's optional, Why are you choosing to hoard it? Why are you choosing to keep it in the locker? And how is it impacting you? So, okay, you're holding on to it, you're hoarding it. What is it pretending to protect you from? What do you get to keep by hating this job? Well, maybe you get to keep benefits. Maybe you get to keep what you feel is security. Maybe you get to keep the comfort of not changing anything. Maybe you get to keep the schedule that you love. Maybe you get to keep the salary that you're semi okay with because you're afraid that if you move to something else, the salary wouldn't be as good or support your lifestyle the same way. And so everything that, is a pain in our ass that we're not changing is still serving us in some way. It's serving your brain in some way. Your brain believes, even though you're miserable, that it's protecting you by making you stay in that place. And with coaching, we figure out why you're believing those lies. And yes, they're lies, because you get to choose what you want to experience in your life. You get to choose who you want to be and what your highest self looks like. And every piece of mail that you're not addressing keeps you from your highest self. So what we do together is help you learn how to feel every emotion, know how to have your own back. Because when there is nothing you're unwilling to feel, there's nothing you're unable to accomplish. Okay, so we work through all of that and help you get to the best version of yourself that you picture for you. It's nobody else's standard but your own. And that standard, like I said, doesn't have to be materialistic things. It doesn't have to be this big, what you would call maybe like a big life, because not everybody wants that. In fact, your highest self can be a simple life of, I truly want to be present. I truly want to feel happy in my bones. I want to wake up every day feeling fulfilled or feeling like I'm doing what I'm meant to do. I want to be the mom or dad that doesn't scream at their kids. I want to be the mom or dad that listens to their kids and doesn't just dismiss them because of the busyness of what I'm experiencing. Like, I want to insert ... Okay? And it can be anything. Yes, it can be the big life. I want to travel all over the world. I want to, go on yachts. I want to build the dream home from the ground up. I get that. That's one of my dreams. Okay? But I do also, what my highest self also wants to be a really great mom one day. I want to believe that I can be a great mom one day, despite the experiences that I've had in my life that where my brain tries to trick me otherwise. And I know there's people listening who might be like, what in the world? Why would you ever think like you'd be anything less than a great mom? But when you've held a lot of stuff in your locker, anything that I would be unwilling to face is really important, right? It's really important to face those things so I can figure out like, okay, if my desire is to be a really great mom and a really present mom and not a stressed out, like, hiding in the closet because I need my own me time mom, because I know that about myself now, I can do the work to figure out, okay, how do I self-care in the best way possible? And know, like, be on to myself about when I'm stressed, so that way when I do have children and I add this whole life change that will inadvertently feel overwhelming at times, I'm not naive to that I don't place my lack of emotional intelligence onto my child and blame them for, my lack of rest or my lack of self-care or whatever it is. Like, how can I be onto myself so that I can take full radical responsibility for the things that might keep me from being my highest self? So it's really this exploration of, who is my highest self? What qualities does my highest self hold? What things do I want to do? What things do I want to become? What things do I want to accomplish? What's important to me in my life? Like, I want to be patient. I want to be loving. I want to be able to, be fully present. And if there's something that's keeping me from being that version of myself right now, I have to be willing to look and explore all of that stuff. And what the only thing keeping me from doing so is being afraid of opening the locker, being afraid of exploring each individual piece that helps me step into my highest self. So, with that being said, I hope that gives you clarity on what I mean whenever I say your locker of feelings. If I ever reference it, or if you're a client of mine, it's to really explore all of the things that are keeping you from being your highest self right now. And we will do it together. When you're ready for coaching, we will do it together. You don't have to open it alone and sit on the floor crying as you're, overwhelmed with the plethora of things you've been able to fit into your locker. It's okay. We address it one thing at a time, and we'll do it together. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I don't know what the status will be by the time you listen to this. As of right now, recording this message, it's the 19th, but you're going to hear it a few days later. As of right now, I have one spot left for one-on-one coaching. So what this looks like is 60 minutes every week on Zoom, either a 3-month contract or a 6-month contract, okay? And it's one-on-one individualized attention with me. If this episode resonated with you and you're thinking about it, reach out as soon as possible to schedule a consult on MacyRenee.com, because once that one spot is taken, a wait list will be created. And that means that until a one-on-one client gives up their spot, there will not be another spot open unless I open more spots in the future. And I don't know when that's going to be right now, because I'm full and I'm complete with one-on-one after this next client. The other way to work with me, if you're ready to do this work, is in the group program, the Equipped Society. We do all the same work as one-on-one, except that it's in a group setting. So you're learning from other people. You get to hear of their experiences. They get to learn of your experiences. And I will tell you, full transparency, that this group has not grown exponentially at this point. My one-on-one has been what's grown exponentially at this point. And so the Equipped Society is still very small, which means that if you do value that one-on-one attention, right now I am able to give it. Because while my vision is that one day there are thousands of people in the Equipped Society, right now it's very small. So I do weekly coaching in there every single week, and it's optional. You can show up to the coaching call. You don't have to show up to the coaching call. And because the group is so small, there's currently only women in there, but it's open to women and men. Right now, it's so small that they are getting my one-on-one attention as if they are a one-on-one client. So they're getting a lot of bang for their buck, okay? They're getting my full attention at a fraction of the price. And when you invest in the Equipped Society, it's lifetime access to the content. So there's over 40 plus modules to actually help you work on every single area of your emotional intelligence. And you still get to take the emotional intelligence assessment. So you still get the 20-page breakdown, and you get to see exactly what your score is. We have a one-on-one call to discuss your results and what's going on and any questions you have. And then you get to, on your own time, do the self-paced modules to learn how to improve it. And anything that feels confusing or anything that's coming up in your life that you feel like you need help with, you can get on the weekly coaching call. And like I said, because it's still small, sometimes only one person gets on and they have my full one-on-one attention, just as a one-on-one client would. And sometimes they get on and there's 3, 4, 5 people on, so they get to learn from each other, hear about different questions that other clients have, and they get to all learn from each other and grow with one another. So, both are very, very valuable places to be. So don't let my one-on-one being full deter you from looking into the Equipped Society. It's an amazing resource to have. I even think one-on-one clients would benefit from having it, just because they would be able to consume when we're not working together the concepts that will actually improve their emotional intelligence much faster. So I actually believe everybody should be in the Equip Society at the very, very least. However, everybody gets to decide what feels best for them in any given moment. But if you have any questions about either one-on-one or the Equip Society, schedule a consult. We'll talk about it. We'll get you in the best fit possible, and I will help you step into your highest self, learn how to feel all of your emotions, and how to have your own back. I hope you have an amazing week. I will talk to you soon. Have a great one. Bye, guys.